Hi, and welcome back to SOS Stories of Survivors. I'm your host, Serina Dansker, and today it is my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome our guest, Mr. Eric Tinkle. It's so grateful to have you here. Here at SOS Stories of Survivors, we share really difficult conversations, but they're also stories about resilience and about how we get through some of the toughest times of our life. And Eric is going to share an amazing story of resilience and how he got through not just one, but several uh, heart wrenching journeys. So, without further ado, Eric, thank you for being here and your bravery for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I was really honored when I got the phone call to come on here. I had been thinking about sharing this in another format, but you're the first. So this is I've never shared this publicly in this format. So yeah, I'm a little apprehensive, a little nervous, just because of the subject matter. But as far as being on camera and all that, that doesn't bother me. So, but I'm grateful, absolutely grateful to be here. I know the words that I'm going to say, the energy that I'm going to produce here is going to reach millions of people, which that's the goal. That's the game plan, to have an impact on someone's life.
Yes, and to our audience, Eric's story, we're going to talk about childhood sexual abuse, which is more rampant than you could even imagine.
Mm,
So, if this is a tough topic for you, make sure you reach out to someone, talk to someone.
absolutely.
It's so important. But Eric is also going to talk about how he found healing and strength, um,
Hmm.
and how he had the courage to stop that abuse.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Eric, before we begin, um, how are you feeling right now about the conversation and coming into this today? You feel okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's a little nerve wracking about the subject matter per se. Like I said, I'm comfortable being on camera and talking. I talk to people every day. I talk to groups of people every day. So that part is not troublesome, bothersome, anything. It's the subject matter in which I'm talking about.
Uh,
Because putting this out there into this format, the universe, once it's there, it's there. You can't take it back. You can't erase it.
no.
But the goal here is not to put the spotlight on me per se as much as just the story of survival and how to overcome. So I think part of what I had talked about, going from victim to victor,
Yeah,
and then making sure that we do not let silence continue to control us. That is the main. I think those are the main things that we want to touch
that
on.
is the point. So let's start. Tell us about yourself. What was your childhood like? Who were you like before everything happened?
Yeah, so I was a little skinny kid. I was always running around playing. Spent most of my time outdoors. So where we lived, across the street from us, were just thousands of acres of timber company land. So we
Mm.
lived in rural America, and that was my playground. I rode horses, I hiked, I hunted, I fished, I three wheelers, four wheelers, motorcycles, all those things that were afforded to me. Was my playground, and I spent countless hours out there, um, just finding myself. So
Mm.
again, living in rural America, my closest person that was my age was about 4 or 5 miles away. So it wasn't like I could just hop on the bike and pedal down the street to see my friend. So I spent a lot of time on my own and learning, making life skills. So that was
Were
my.
you an only child, or did you have siblings?
No, I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Okay. And um, when you think back to that time of your life, what stands out for you? Like, what were you passionate about?
Passionate about would have been playing outdoors at that young age. Again, I and it's still my sanctuary to this day.
Hmm.
So um, I'm not opposed to like going to church and things like that, but I find God in nature. That's where I have that more soulful connection in nature, because there's so much peace there. You can unwind, you can let things go, and truly just hear all of nature around you, and I mean, it's just an amazing feeling when you find that. But what I was passionate about, of course, was as much play as I could get in. Again, we lived on 10 acres, and Dad loved to work. That was his love language. And every weekend or every spare moment, it was, chores or doing something around the house, and so anytime I could escape that, that was a blessing. So yeah,
That's,
I love to get outside.
that's, talk to me about when you suddenly realized that something wasn't right.
So I'll have to give you a little backstory on that to kind of tie it all together.
Yes.
So I was, let's see, I was 8, I think, when we moved to this community, and the people that lived up the street were known in the community. They'd lived there since the early 1800s, I think, is when they first moved into that piece of property. My parents bought 10 acres in a little small community west of Little Rock. It was about a 30-minute drive west of Little Rock at that time. And both my parents worked, and there was, I believe there was some naivety in thinking that, bad things only happen in the big city. Now, Little Rock's not a big city, but to them, in their mind, that was a big city. And so when they moved to this part of the community, there were certain things that they didn't take into account, that these types of things happen all over the country, but they just don't get talked about.
That's right.
So so again, I was 8 when they built out there, and then I was 9 when I was playing, football, backyard football. What really upset me, what really pissed me off, I didn't even have a football. I got sandwiched between 2 guys, and I had a spiral break of my left femur.
Oh my God.
So at that point in time, surgery, installing rods in limbs, was still in its infancy. And so they elected to do a body cast. So I literally had a body cast from my armpit down.
Wow.
I was immobile for 2 months, so couldn't walk. And so my mom quit work so that she could take care of me. And uh, I was in a body cast for 2 months. I was on crutches for 6 weeks, and then on a cane for 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So not fun. I don't recommend that to anybody.
Not enough, especially at 9 years old. Oh my God.
No, I still have the scars from where, again, I was in a body cast, but you try to keep a 9-year-old immobile. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had a skateboard that I would get onto, put it in the center of my chest, and I'd crawl around the house, right? Well, when they took the cast off, there was a permanent scar that I still have on my left, just below my left knee, where I had rubbed inside the cast. It's a permanent scar.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Well, and again, it's going back to the break. So there wasn't surgery at that time, and so they had to put my leg in traction. As for those of you who maybe are unfamiliar with traction, so they put this pin through your leg. So you have a pin on your leg, and then they put weights, because the bone was sitting bone to bone like so. So they had to pull it apart and then let it sit.
Oh my
So there's
God.
weights on the end of this. So when they did that, the guy who was doing it had either not done it before or was very inept in his training. And so he was trying to put this pin through my leg with no anesthesia. And he did it the wrong way for several minutes before he realized he was turning the screw the wrong way. So the bone was just sitting on the bone, and just, yeah, it was horrible. And then I had muscle spasms for, gosh, 48 hours or so. So that's where my muscle would just contract involuntarily. So you could hear these weights bouncing day and night. It was
Mm.
miserable. There was nothing they can do for you on that at that time. So giving
That's
you pain medicine just made you didn't care, but it still hurt.
Oh my God. And so here you are, 9 years old, you're in this full body cast. You're trying to figure out how you can get around on that skateboard and doing things. And describe, you've mentioned, that your mom had taken off of work and, uh, and is taking care of you. So what happened?
So after after getting out of the body cast and a return back to school, so where we lived, getting to the bus stop was about a half a mile away to walk.
Wow.
Well, that's not very feasible on a crutch or cane. So my parents hired the man up the road to take care of us. And he lived with his mom and dad, and he was in his mid 20s, I think, at the time. And so I still needed a little help getting around. My mother re-entered the workforce, and so that's where he started grooming me.
Mm.
And so again, at that time, um, kids were, and we were coming out of that, but kids were still seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So when an adult told you to do something, well, you didn't really question it; you just did it.
Right.
So for him to start grooming me in that way, I was like, I know something is wrong, but my parents never talked to me about this. They were naive in that only happens in the big city. That doesn't happen in rural America. And so we were never cautioned. We were never given permission to say, "Hey, this is wrong."
Mm.
So that's where he took advantage of that situation, and he was getting paid for it too. So it's even more
And
messed.
how did that affect you? Did it make you a little more introverted? Did you talk to your friends at school about what was happening, or
Yeah. So there's a piece of that where again, you know something is wrong, but you don't know what you don't know.
right?
And so I remember thinking, okay, my parents never talked to me about this, but this must be normal because here's an adult doing this to me.
Mm.
And but it messes with your sense of appropriateness. So
Yeah.
uh, so I would try things on girls. Like, well, what are you doing? Right. So I'm like, it was really messed up type of situation of not understanding proper boundaries. And of course, your innocence is stripped away. So you have no idea what's right or wrong anymore.
Right.
But I wouldn't talk to my friends about it because there's three things that happen. There's fear, shame, and guilt. Those are the three things that keep someone from talking, speaking out. Mostly it's fear. And so no, I didn't have a relationship with anyone in my peers that I would talk to them about this. But
Mm.
I did know something was wrong. I just couldn't quite assimilate the facts to figure out what it was and then to make it stop at that time.
Oh my gosh. A lot of times when you're harboring a secret like that,
Mm,
it's it's a lot, especially on a young person.
yeah.
You're always trying to do the right thing, please people, and
Hmm.
using that silence, it can have a lot of effects. Did it affect your schoolwork or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So at the height of this was the fifth grade, and I was just an absolute terror.
Mm.
I did everything I could to disrupt class, to express it in a way that I didn't understand that I need help, but I did not know how to actually say those words. So my grades slipped. I was in trouble every day going to the principal's office. At that time, they still did corporal punishment. I was getting paddlings almost every day. I don't know how I passed the fifth grade because I really don't know that I earned it. I think I was passed over because I didn't give a crap about anything.
Wow.
Yeah, so my poor parents they spent a lot of time in the principal's office, including myself.
Oh my gosh. And so, you're in this horrible situation. Can you take me to the moment or moments when things began to shift for you and you decided to take matters into your own hands here?
Yeah, so that was so from the age of 9 to 13 were the years of abuse, and I started in those formative years. I started questioning things, and again, I knew this was wrong, but I didn't know how to stop it. I was not there was not a was not given permission or given an out to that. And when I did kind of question it to him about that, he there was a very real verbal threat. So the threat was not only would he kill me if I spoke up and said anything, but he would kill my family first, make me watch, and then kill me.
Oh, God.
And so at first I was okay, it's kind of talk, but when he showed me the guns, okay, and I was 10. I've never shared this with anyone. I was 10 um, when he put a gun in my face and told me if I told anyone, uh, he would use it.
Oh, so sorry. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. So sorry.
Well, I'm not telling this because I want sympathy or pity. I'm telling you because this is the very real threat that was happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And and so for some people who are, well, why didn't you say anything? Well, again, we didn't have that ability to talk to anyone in authority, let alone no one was really looking at that. Again, this happens in big cities. This doesn't happen in rural America. So
Wow.
it was never given an option to talk about that.
Right, right.
So I was 13. I very distinctly remember this day. So he came over to seduce me, I guess would be the term. And I had already made up my mind. I'm not doing this.
Hmm.
I'm not doing this. I don't care the consequences of those actions. I'm not doing this. And I remember thinking, so we had a breakfast bar that I was sitting at, and he's sitting and talking to me. And pornography was a real uh, big thing then. So he's brought over all these magazines, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Of course, he got very upset and stormed out of my home. I was at my home. He stormed out of the home,
Hmm.
and I knew what he was going to do. And I remember thinking to myself, my gosh, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry for the mess you're going to come home to. Because I fully believed he was going to follow through on that threat. And I heard him go out to his truck, and I could hear him like rummaging around.
Hmm.
I wasn't going to run. I wasn't. I wasn't going to defend myself either, because I was just numb. Um, yeah, you just don't. At that point, I didn't care. I just wanted it to stop, because
Right.
that pain was more than the pain I was.
Yeah,
The pain he could inflict upon me.
that's anguish, that you're going through. You're still a child,
Yeah,
and you're mentally, you're emotionally, you're physically, you're trying to take control back, to put a
yeah.
stop to the
Mhm.
torment. Oh my God.
So I heard him rummaging around in this truck. I knew what he was getting, because I'd already seen the pistol numerous times. He came to the door, because I could hear him walk up to the door, and he didn't come in. And I have no idea how long that was, whether that was just seconds, minutes, hours. I mean, time just kind of all over the place. But he left. I heard him leave. Tore off in his truck, and I thought, you know what? He's going up to get more weapons and carry through with his threat.
Oh
So I
God.
just sat there. I wasn't moving, and I just sat at that bar, just completely numb, um, wondering what was going to happen next. And so I don't know how long I sat in the breakfast bar, but I sat there for quite some time before I was like, I got on my butt, maybe got numb in the chair or something. I don't know. But something clicked, and I was like, okay, I'll go up about my day.
Yeah.
And then as more time elapsed away from that, I didn't really think much of it.
That's just incredible. You know, going through that, and there's a very fine line, I think, between fear and courage.
Mm,
One more step, um, to overcome your fear and to have the courage
hmm.
to face it.
Yes.
Um, Looking back now, what do you think gave you that courage?
That's a great question. I don't really know if I could define it. What gave me the courage? The what so typically what happens, or what I have evaluated, at least on my end, is the pain on this side was worse than what perceived pain could be on this side.
Right. Amazing.
And so the pain had gotten to the point where I was not going to allow that to happen anymore,
Mm.
and to hell with the consequences of what that looked like. I was going to do everything I could then at that point to make it end, make it stop, simply because, again, that pain was more painful than him inflicting any other pain upon me. And so that's the reason why I stopped it. So yes, it took a lot of courage at 13 years old, and this is at this point he's late 20s, I think, by that time.
Oh,
It still towered over me. I was a little kid. I was
sure.
big around. Uh,
Oh my God. But do you remember, were you feeling like immediately after it stopped, were you always looking over your shoulder,
oh
just,
yeah,
when the other shoe was going to drop or if he was going to come at you, or
yeah. So I dealt with a lot of PTSD, and I still to this day still have a little bit of that. I've worked through a lot of that, but yeah, you have these moments where um, like you go into a room. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. So I would go to a room. The first thing I would do was I would evaluate the entire room, figuring out what's the biggest threat in the room, and then position myself to where I had a clear line of sight on that individual or individuals, and then had an escape plan already figured out. So there's this door, there's this door. I had that all figured out, and I was young. I was, still 13, 14, on into my adulthood. I still behaved that way because I never wanted to be out of control in that way. I never wanted to be helpless like that again.
Mm.
So when I was 16, I got into martial arts. Um, I got my black belt, or got my black belt in Taekwondo
Mm.
at 17, and then got a secondary black belt, and then I did all kinds of different types of martial arts: boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, all kinds of different things, jiu-jitsu, just to make sure that I was never in a position. If somebody's going to kick my ass, somebody's going to defeat me, they're going to know they were in a good fight. They're going to scrap. I'm not going to give it to them. And that's kind of the way I felt. I felt like I didn't defend myself. So I was still. I'm thinking as an adult in a child situation. And
Hmm.
that's the wrong way to look at it. As a child, I did not have that ability. I did not have the thought processes and or the skill sets that I have as an adult to make those decisions.
Right, right. Oh my God. That's incredible. I mean, these experiences through as a child shaped how you saw yourself, as it's, growing up into the adults, that you've become.
Mhm.
But talk to me about how that affected your relationships. I mean, you're a nice looking man. I mean, I'm
Thank you.
sure your girlfriends and all of that going on.
Yeah. So again, you have your innocence stripped away from you, so you don't know what appropriate boundaries are, what is appropriate, what's inappropriate. So, and again, you're looking at pornography. You're looking at women in a objective way, not in a relationship way.
Mm.
And so it really messes with your mind. It makes you question your sexuality. It makes you think of different attributes within the context of relationships and what that looks like. Um, so for example, one of the biggest things that I worked through was the word love.
Mm.
I there was a time when if you told me you loved me, I vehemently just would admonish you for that because he told me he loved me too,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I hated that word. I despised that word. I did not wish anyone to speak that to me at all. And then at a certain point, I realized, look, I'm giving power over this word that should have some meaning to me that's reflective of who I am.
Right.
And so I said, you know what? I'm going to redefine what love means to me because I'm not giving that power away anymore. And so it took me a long time to research on my own to go, okay, this is what love means to me. And what that version of love was not love.
Yeah. No,
Right?
probably not.
No, it was,
That was a sickness.
yes. And it was a lust
Yeah.
in an inappropriate way.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're incredible. Oh my God, Sid. I just I love the way you describe things. I love how you put it into your perspective. I mean, it's really it's empowering to someone who's also been in that situation in their life. But let's talk about, are there moments in your life where that trauma that you went through resurfaced?
Mm.
And in unexpected ways, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah. So with, with PTSD, there's sights, sounds, smells, all kinds of different situations that trigger you that you're unprepared for. So it could be something completely innocent, but then it just reverts back to all floods your memories of different things,
Mhm.
and that is a man. That's a tough one to go through because look, triggers are going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I learned is that I am responsible for my triggers, no one else. I have to take control of that situation. So when those things happen and they would come up, um, I'll say, for example, I call mine Billy the Bully. He likes to chime in my ear, chirp in my ear, and talk all this garbage in my head and my mind. And I have to stop and evaluate that and go, okay, is the reason for bringing this up? Is there a point to this? Meaning, have I not dealt with something, or there's something more on the level that I need to work on, or is he just being an asshole and he's trying to ruin my day? And so I have to stop and okay, reflect on it and go, you know what? I've dealt with that. I've done with that. You're no longer in control here. So get on back. You're not welcome here anymore. I am in control, not you.
Mm.
And so that was a long, hard lesson to learn to again stop being the victim and become a victor. And that's where I started working through myself. And that's a long, hard process. I made it short, but it took years to get to that point.
Wow. So your mental health over time, it's a work in progress. It's a journey, right?
Yes.
And at some point you realize, as you said, you need to heal and you need to work through things. Um, you have gone through a lot in your life. I mean, I, you know, the journey you've been on. Can we just talk a little bit about the some of the other traumas
Sure.
you've had in your life,
Sure.
like the snake bite,
Hmm.
the lightning strike?
Yeah.
We'll just start there.
Okay. Which one do you want to start with?
I guess start with the earliest one. I think it was the
Okay.
snake.
So the snake bite when I was 12. So um, this is kind of a messed up story too. So the neighbors who lived to the north of us, a quarter mile away or so, were the same neighbors who were abusing me. They had an old well that they had dug, and it had long since been abandoned, and they just had like a sheet of plywood over it. Now, they were concerned that us kids playing around could potentially fall into this well, and so they wanted to protect us, and and so they decided to fill in said well.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to all of us, it happened to be a collection, a snake den. And so when they filled this in, all these snakes came out. And so for weeks, we were finding these monster snakes everywhere that we'd never seen before around our property. And I was at that time we had manicured half of the front end of our lawn closest to the house, but the other half to the road, which is about roughly 100 yards or so, was not, and it was just full of rocks and debris and stumps and things like that. So you couldn't use a lawnmower or a bush hog without fear of hitting something. So we had to cut it by hand.
Hmm.
So I had a sling blade. You know, I was out there cutting grass with my dad, and the reward for doing that day was he was going to take us to the movies, all of us, the whole family. Well, that was just such a rare treat. I was like, yeah, buddy, I'm going to get this done. So after lunch, instead of wearing the normal protective clothing, you know, like blue jeans and socks and tennis shoes or boots and things like that, I was in shorts. I didn't even have a t-shirt on. I don't even know if I had socks on. I barely had shoes on. I was ready to get this done over. It's hot, it's summertime, it's July. For July, for those of you who know about Arkansas heat, oh, it's atrocious. So I'm ready to be done with it. But we were on the last little strip of grass to be cut, and I stepped on something. I didn't see it, but I stepped on something. I knew something was wrong. I felt it hit. I stepped back away from it, and I remember telling my dad, I got bit. And my dad was like, well, son, it's summertime, you know. Of course you're going to get bit. There's mosquitoes and no-see-ums and all kinds of things. What do you mean you got bit, right? Expand upon that topic. I said, Dad, I got snake bit. And he, what? And I pointed down to general areas. I still didn't see it. And his eyes, size of dinner plates, and he goes over there and chops it up, loads it into a paper bag, and we take off to the big city to get it taken care of. So at that time, there was a new procedure that they were going to do. And he got me right around the ankle. So right near my Achilles is where he got me. And it was a copperhead. He was 14 inches long. So it's basically what they would consider a juvenile reptile at that time. And he gave me everything he had. And so the treatment at that time, where they were going to cut a core out to remove, like, basically the venom kind of stays in that central location. So had they done that, they would have permanently lamed me for life. But we did not get there in time because, again, we lived way out. So it took us probably right about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get to the nearest hospital for treatment. And they hit me. That was probably worse than the damn snake bite. Was when I got into the emergency room. Here's all these doctors and nurses, and they're just hammering me. I get shots in my arms, my legs, my butts. I mean, they're just hitting me with everything. The next thing I know, I've got like 10 shots in me. I'm like, what is going on here? They get me up into a room. They start packing ice on my leg, and it swells up to the size. I mean, it's humongous. It's twice the size of my thigh. So it looks like this big elephant foot, if you will, because you can't even see my toes. But they're putting ice on there to try to reduce the swelling and things. And they put 2 marks on my leg, about 1 inch apart. And again, unbeknownst to me at this time, so the venom was slowly creeping, the poison slowly creeping up my leg. and they put 2 marks on my leg, and they told my parents if it goes above that second mark, they're going to have to do something. Now they had already given me tried to give me the anti-venom, and I had a reaction to it. So giving it to me would have done more harm than good. So the other alternative would be amputation.
Oh my God.
So it got up to that second line and then started receding. So I could thank God, because that could have been a very different lifestyle at that point.
Yeah.
And I was 12 at that time. So and then it receded. So but I was in the hospital for 3 days, 3 days at that point.
That's incredible. So, oh my gosh, the the effects of that snake bite receded, and then you made a full recovery, obviously.
Yeah, I made a full recovery. Now there were some unique things that came about from that, though. From that point on, I didn't have a problems with parasites like ticks and chiggers and fleas and things like that. What when I did find, because obviously living out in the country, you're going to be exposed to those kind of things, and what I would find ticks that it had were on me, they would be dead, because that venom would stay in your body. Your body just naturally kind of ignores it, but it's still in your body. And I learned later on that um, obviously during different excretions parts of your life, it just stays there. It does not leave your body. It takes about I think they told me somewhere around 12 years before your body finally dilutes it to the point where it's no longer um,
Toxic. Yeah.
well, or like if they were to do draw blood and they would find it in your blood. So it takes about 12 years before that traces of that venom would be out of your system. So
Wow.
yeah.
Oh
So
my,
I was always the one, like, we go pick blackberries or muscadines or something like that. Hey, you're it. Thanks.
send Tink out there.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And with all of this going on, again, your mental health must be just like on overdrive with, having survived the snake bite, and also, growing up, adolescence. Why me? Why is it all this shit happen to me?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. I really had I had issues with God, wondering that and thinking through that is, what did I do to deserve that?
Yeah.
Which is really the wrong question to ask. So asking why is is a fallacy, in that you're never going to get the answers that you're looking for.
Right. No.
And so at some point I had to stop asking the question why, and start, instead of why did this happen to me, or why is this going on, and start asking, okay, what did this teach me,
Mm.
and what am I becoming, who am I becoming because of this? So I have a choice to continue to ask why to a question I'll never get answers for, or to learn from that situation and go, okay, what am I becoming now?
Yeah.
Because that is the difference between shame and accountability, if you will.
Yeah.
It's distinguishing those two apart from each other. So shame will keep you asking why
Mm.
me. It just puts you in a state of victimhood, as
Yes.
opposed to going, okay, yeah, it happened, it sucked, but what can I learn from this, and who am I going to become from this? So the choice that we all have is to make that decision that I'm no longer going to allow this to control my life. And now, therefore, here's what I've learned. And it was a lot. And then what can I do to teach that? So those are the key takeaways.
Wow. I mean, those tools that you have are incredible. And I know it's taken you, to go through a lot in your life to get to that stage. Let's
Yes.
just, talk a little bit about, some of the other traumas you've gone through. Take me through the lightning strike. I mean, my God.
Yeah. 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 So, so to clarify, It was not a direct strike. So for those of you who are hearing the story, 90, I think it's around 97%, 96, 97% of all lightning strikes that people experience are indirect strikes, meaning the overwhelming majority of people who get a direct strike, they're no longer here.
Mm.
So what had happened in my situation, I was an apprentice electrician, and I was working at we were doing a commercial building, doing the electrical work, and a summer storm came in. My truck, I had rolled the windows down on my truck, obviously because it's summertime, it's hot. So to keep that somewhat cool, I rolled the windows down. Well, here comes this surprise storm, and there was a door at this building that was what they call a panic door. So it's basically only one way in. There's nothing on the outside to allow you to open the door. So there's a panic bar across it. A fourth or fifth year apprentice at that time that I was working with, he said, "Hey man, I'll keep the door open for you so you can go roll your windows up on your truck." Great, thanks, buddy. Now he was of Hispanic descent, so he was a darker skinned colored gentleman. I run out to my truck. It's probably about 30 yards or so away from the building. I felt something hit my right foot, and I felt something exit my left foot. I saw the flash, and I heard the loud noise, but none of that registered. And from that point on, things were like in slow motion. So everything was disconnected. Like if you ever watched a movie where you see the voice and the screen don't match up, that's kind of the way it felt.
Wow.
I get in my truck, I roll the windows up, it's pouring down rain. And I make it back to the building, and his eyes are like this big around. He's wider than the walls that I have back here.
Oh, wow.
And he's like holding the door open like this, and he's just like, that stunned look on people's face. And I come in, and I'm just drenched, soaking wet from the rain. And he's like, "Man, are you okay?" It's an odd question. "Yeah, I'm okay." "Why would you ask that?" He said, "Man, that hit right beside you, and it still hasn't processed." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Man, that lightning bolt hit right beside you." And then at that point, the adrenaline had started to wear off a little bit. And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm not good." And I hit the back of the wall and just kind of slumped down. I was like, something's wrong. And so they took me to the emergency room. I was in there for hours, but they hooked me up to is it EKG? I think that's the one that does your heart.
Yeah.
And I'm 21 at this time. And so the doctor comes in, and they have this, the little ticker. He's out there, he's looking, he's, He's doing those numbers, right? I'm 21. I don't know what he's doing. Like, what is this? And so he tells me, he says, "Well, looking at this, you have a slight arrhythmia of the heart." I don't know what he's talking about. So he obviously sees that on my face. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, your heart has 4 beats, right?" "Oh, check, got that. I know that one." He says, "Well, sometimes you have 5, sometimes you have 3, sometimes you're just all over the place. There's not a steady rhythm, so it's an arrhythmia." So, okay, got that. Check. What do we do? He says, "Well, we've got 2 options. One, we can reshock you, reset your heart, or 2, we can let nature take its course." I said, "Doc, option 2 sounds like a much better option. I don't know if you know this or not, that shit hurts."
Yeah.
So for the next 6 or 8 weeks, my heart would reset. And they told me this would happen, but again, I was 21. I'm invincible.
Right.
But yeah, I would feel my heart like lock up, and I was like trying to catch my breath and like, "Come on, restart." I would feel it resetting, and that went on, like I said, for about 6, 8 weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it
Out of
was.
nowhere, it would reset.
Oh yeah, I could be working, I could be talking. I mean, it didn't matter. It was just whenever the heart decided it needed to reset.
Oh my God.
I don't recommend it to anyone.
I'll take your word for that. I'm good. my gosh. Oh my God. You have had some journey through life, and let's just talk about love. I mean,
Mm.
I you got married eventually, had children. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met my I met my future wife. Um, I was 16 at the time. She was 12 at a camp. Don't, this is just where we met. There was nothing there. Um, but I knew there was something special about her. And then later on in life, we would continuously like run into each other. Like I'd be at a party somewhere or some event, and it was almost there was a point that it was almost yearly where we would just bump into each other. Wow, how are you doing? Good to see you. You know, doing all those catch up things. Well, eventually that developed into a friendship, which then eventually developed into love. And I think she was probably, yeah, I think she was the first girl I had ever shared um, the abuse with at that point. And that was a real um, turning point for me, was understanding that um, so vulnerability for men seems like a weakness, and men do not want to expose themselves as weak because of how that gets assimilated into other aspects of our lives. So, but by me sharing what that was and how I processed through the trauma, how I processed through what I redefined at this point, and I was still kind of redefining what love meant. We got together, had four beautiful daughters. I think they're beautiful, of course. That's my unbiased opinion, and life was really good, and I was still processing too. So at this point, this I guess I was in my early 30s then at this point when I did some incredible work, and this is one of those situations that I really worked through, which was forgiveness, and that's a very difficult thing, it's a difficult topic. So I forgave my abuser. Now I had done that, gosh, numerous times. However, it's I trying to think of a best equation I can come up with. So you remember the old Peanuts cartoon where Linus was carrying around that old blanket? Well, that's probably the best symbolism I can explain. So I was carrying around this fear, shame, and guilt with me everywhere I went, and it was due to anger and bitterness and unforgiveness.
Right.
And so I had theoretically put this blanket down numerous times, but going through life, I would just be, I don't know, like an absence of sorts. And the next thing you know, I'm carrying around this blanket again. Where did it come from? How did I pick it up? Where did it go? Right. And so I would put it down, I would process through it, and inevitably I just kept picking this back up. So this process of forgiveness took years, but I was in my early 30s, and I can't remember if my third child was born or about to be born at that time. So somewhere in that time frame, I decided to truly forgive. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean forget.
No.
You're never going to forget that, but it was to me, it was if now I'm not going to touch on religion per se as much as I would knowing what I know about Christ. Christ's forgiveness um, is the benchmark, if you will, of forgiveness. And so by processing through that, if He can forgive the men who were nailing Him to the cross, who am I as a person to not have that, to be able to forgive someone
Wow.
heinous things to me? And so that's where I was like, okay, I'm finally giving this up. I'm leaving this alone. I'm not picking this back up again. And I remember that I was sitting in my living room. I don't know if like sitting in the living room in a chair, a recliner, and having that moment of clarity that I needed to do this, and it wasn't for him, it was for me.
Yeah.
And so once I processed through that forgiveness, man, the next day just felt so much lighter. So
Wow. It's incredible. Right?
Colors were so much more vivid because of that situation that I had fully and truly released it at that point. Um, yeah. And so going through that piece of forgiveness was another act of love towards my wife at the time, was to share with her what that looked like, because she still had unresolved. Um, it was never sexual trauma for her, but there was some physical and mental abuse that she had endured, and so that was for me as kind of a benchmark to help her along as well, to show her, hey, there's it's lighter on the other side.
Yeah,
So
that's just beautiful. I mean, what a gift that you were able to share that with her and show her firsthand that you were able um, to forgive.
mm. And that's, again, that is a tough one, and there somebody's watching this out there and going, yeah, well, that's you, Tink, you were able to do it. Look, it took me years to get to that point, and you may never get to that point, and that's okay. But just keep that in mind, that anger turns to bitterness, and bitterness turns into resentment. And trust me, you do not want to live with those things, those emotions, the rest of your life. Part of getting rid of that and getting back to a healthy piece of that is forgiveness, and that's a tough one to come to.
I gotta ask, what did they ever arrest your abuser? Was he ever caught? What happened
Yeah,
to him?
yeah. Um, so going back, I was
Yeah.
13 whenever I um, stopped the abuse, and I was 14 at that point. Now, throughout the community, he had been abusing other children within the community. But again, because of the prominence of these people within the community, it was not talked about. It was hush hush. It was swept under the rug. Um, so people who did move in the community that had children would mysteriously just kind of up and leave quickly. And of course, we later on learned that was what was going on. So there were other children, unfortunately, that he had molested within the community. And the neighbor that lived south of us, approximately a quarter of a mile or so, um, the father of these two children, so my abuser got caught molesting the youngest daughter, and so he was of the Vietnam era, and I knew him. I'm not going to obviously name him. I'm trying to be generic here, and but he was again a man from Vietnam, so he had seen action. He'd seen some things, and so he was quite capable of following through with. If he made a death threat, I'm positive he could follow through on it. Well, he cuts across our property to get to the north of us to where the abuser lived.
Mm.
And I saw him and I called him by name, and he's like completely checked out. He acknowledged me, but dismissively. And so I knew something that was wrong, because he's loaded to bear. He's got knives, he's got guns on him, which is, again, nothing I would be uncomfortable with. I've seen numerous times of hunting and all that. However, I knew there was a different intent in his mind and in his eyes that I was not quite sure what was going on there. And so I called my dad over. Dad, can you go talk to him? Something's not quite right. And so my saint of a father, my beautiful dad, love him to no end. I don't know how he did this, because this is a trained individual to carry through with the threat. And somehow or another, my father talked this man off a ledge, because he was going to go up there, because he had found out that he had molested his two children, and he was going to take matters into his own hands. So my dad talked him off this ledge, disarmed him, and they were sitting in the living room talking. I think they were having coffee or something at this point. And my dad's laying out the game plan. Here's what we're going to do. Well, my mom says, she starts putting two and two together, going, wait a minute. If he molested these two children, what about my children?
Right.
So mom came to us, to me and my other sibling, and said, hey, this is what's going on. Did this happen to you? So she had given us permission then at that point to, yeah, that happened. Yeah. Now, of course, they were devastated as parents because here they were trying to keep us safe, thinking, we're in the rural community of America. This doesn't happen. Here it is at your front door. So when the father of these children who heard of this, he was begging my father, please give me my weapons back. I will go up there. I will take care of this. We'll set the place on fire. We'll get rid of all. He's game planning this thing, right? I'm like, what?
I love that man.
Oh my God. But my father, again, my saint of a father, God love him.
God bless him.
He stepped back and he said, no, we're going to allow the law to take this into account, to do what it's supposed to do. Because if you do what you're going to do, you are no longer with your children then at that point, because you're going to be in jail, prison, and that serves no purpose. So let's not go down that road. And so at the end of that, culmination of that, my father, I don't remember if he gave him the weapons back then that day or held on to him. I don't remember that piece of it, but there was time stipulation, and he told my father, he said, if he's not arrested by such and such date, he's going to follow through on his threat. So this is premeditated now. So instead of perhaps saying, this was a trauma-induced act of rage, no, that's premeditated. But anyway, we go to the prosecuting attorney's office. And this is another very scary situation. So I had no legal representation. My parents could not be in the room.
Oh God.
So here I am with one of the prosecuting attorneys, someone taking dictation, and I think there was another person there. So there's 3 adults and me, and needing for me to tell what had happened to me so that they could build a case against him. And let me tell you, that was absolutely terrifying. They're asking you all these questions, and you're trying to answer them. And there's no adult in there going, "Hey, that's inappropriate. That's whatever." None of that. It's they're going to ask you these questions, you have to answer them. Okay. But he did, because of that, my testimony and others. He was arrested. He had pled it. He did a plea bargain to 10 years. But when the judge looked this over, and this is what I'm recalling, when the judge looked over, there were 4 counts of rape, and I forget what all the charges were. But when the judge finally looked at it, he goes, "Hold on a minute. We're going to give this guy 10 years, and there's 4 counts on here? I don't think so." Yeah. He tossed it out and gave him 30 years.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Now he wound up serving, I think 10 or 11 years. Got out on good behavior, but yeah, so he would have been eligible for parole in 2 to 3 years, and that would have been basically nothing for all the damage that he inflicted, not only on me but to others in the community.
Children. I mean, the children, and it doesn't just stay with the children. I mean, it transcends generations, because abusers were once abused.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Until you stop the process, or until you learn how to heal and change the trajectory of things, it's devastating.
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, once he got out, I don't think that he stopped. Yeah. That type of behavior doesn't stop. There's not a cure or solution to that type of behavior. You're trying to think rationally to an irrational process. It just won't happen. There's not anything there you can emotionally tie that together.
It's a sickness. It's
It
really
is. It's a true sickness, and there's not a pill, there's not a prescription, there's not a therapy that you can do that's going to correct that. So,
oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
so I think he continued once he got out.
Oh God. Oh, all right. Well, let's lighten it up a little bit.
Oh, this is how light. Yeah, this is a very light story. What are you talking about?
Let's do a little fun, gentle, uplifting lightning round. What's one word that describes your younger self? Just one word.
Hmm. Energetic.
How about one word that describes you today?
Well, it's actually two words, I guess, but purpose driven.
I like it. It's a hyphenated. It could be one. How about something that brings you peace?
Man, peace for me is something that has eluded me for a long time, and I've really worked at finding my peace. And again, peace to me is there's a sense of joy. So give you a little thought process on this. So a lot of people say they want happiness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good word, but it's not a great word. What I mean by that is happiness comes from a word of happenstance, meaning if something happens to you, it can make you feel a certain way. The reverse of that is it can also make you unhappy. Right? So if a situation is causing your happiness, it can also cause you unhappiness. So what you're truly looking for is joy. And joy comes from within. That's one of those that you can't really define. Joy to me gives me peace because that's a gift that we bestow upon ourselves of joy. There's that peacefulness within that joy that no one can take that away from me, no matter what the situation is, whether you're in jail, whether you're bankrupt, whether you've been abused, anything like that. There's the joy that no one can take away from you. They can't strip that away from you. Any situation cannot take that away from you. So there's peace in that from being joyful, and joyful comes from gratitude. So it kind of all ties back together. Uh,
Yeah.
being grateful for something in this situation may sound odd, but the joy that comes from that gratitude transforms into peacefulness.
Unbelievable. That's beautiful. So good. Um, okay. One more question on lightning round. What does survivor mean to you?
Survival. Well, okay. You've been through a lot of shit. A lot
Mm.
of things have happened to me, and you barely touched on my bio about things that I have gone through.
We need a part two and a part
Yeah,
three.
honestly, yes, that is very true. Um, but the but survival is only one key aspect of that. So you have to take into account or start looking into what matters most in your life, and then take charge of those things that have happened in your life. Now you can look at them as punishments or uh, things that obviously deviated from the path. But what I started implementing was, and this is there's a there's a poem Invictus by what's his name William Ernest Henley, and I think the last verse of that is I am the master of my fate, and I am the captain of my soul.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I want to help those that are maybe still silent or afraid today. And what's something that you would tell someone who's struggling right now?
Yeah.
you know?
I especially want to appeal to men, but this applies to everyone. Um, First of all, understand this: you're not alone. Um, and when I've talked to other men in group settings or individually, I've had men come back up to me and said, "Man, this happened to me when I was a kid, and I've been married for 20 plus years, and I've never even told my spouse this." So listen, the it takes a lot of courage to come forward and talk about this, but you are not alone. And we all have scars on our heart. The goal is to have more heart than scars. So what that looks like, if anybody's ever gotten a terrible cut,
Mm.
scar tissue forms from the wound healing improperly, meaning that it healed from the top down. And so we cover those things.
Mm.
To truly get to the heart of and to eliminate the scar tissue, we have to reopen that wound and we have to clean it out.
Yes.
And it's painful. It's disgusting. It's definitely not pretty, but cleaning that scar tissue out so that it can heal from the bottom up properly and alleviate that scar tissue. It's going to take time. This is not a quick, easy fix. Look, this was not overnight. This is years of therapy and working through things, and I still have a ways to go. Just ask my kids; they'll tell you.
It's a journey, right? It's a
It's
journey.
scary, I have this on my hand. It's you versus you. 1% better every day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm striving towards and what I'm going for. Um, but please talk to someone, whether it's a therapist, someone who you have respect for, someone who you feel comfortable with. Please speak to them about what is happening, what's going on. Get rid of that scar tissue. Those things are it's terrible. It weighs you down. There's light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. It's kind of an old cliche, but it's true.
Yes.
When you unload that burden that you were never meant to carry,
Mm.
oh, life is so much better on the
Oh
other side of it.
God, I wish you were around to talk to my son when he was going through it, boy. I'll tell you, your strength and your courage is powerful.
Thank
Um,
you.
thank you so much for trusting us, for helping our listeners feel less alone. I close every episode with a poem that I choose that kind of relates to the topic. And my son wrote poetry, uh,
Mm,
part of who he was at 15 and 16 years old. And I mean, he basically describes what you were just describing now. And I'm going to share it with you. It says, everybody is different. No one's the same. Then why do I treat people so plain? I don't take the time to listen to them complain. I just pretend I understand their pain. I
mm,
don't talk. I just take charge. Assume. No place for them to walk. I thought I treated everyone differently, especially those who I loved. But I rise no one above.
mm,
I keep those I know behind a gate. The gate I can't escape. The gate I can't shake. The gate that can't let me be my own shape. I ask myself, when was the last time you were true
mm,
and didn't move so fast? I tell myself to slow down, keep your head down. I cover myself in confidence so others won't see the true me. I shower myself in all these pickup lines and lies. I don't even know if the real me is still alive.
mm.
And this is was the mental state that he was in. And I mean, you are so amazing in the way you're able to articulate the struggles that young men go through. If someone wanted to reach out to you or talk to you, how could they get help with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, and on Instagram it's Phoenix Mindset Coach Tink. So where that came about from is, look, I've had to rebuild myself numerous times from the fire that tried to consume me. And each time I had to rise again, rebuild, and then reclaim. So those are the things that I coach on, teach on, help with. You can look me up on Facebook. I think I'm Eric Tinkle on Facebook. Um, I posted videos and things like that. And I've been working with guys, or actually people, for 7 years now. Not coaching and teaching, mentoring in this regard. So if there's anybody out there who would like more information on that and how they could get involved and get in touch with me through those two avenues, I would love to sit down and talk with you and work with you. You just go check it out, see if it's something that works for you. Most of my topics is geared towards men, but I do have two women who are clients, so I'm not opposed to working with women. It's just most of my stuff's geared towards men. And look, the mental health, especially men's mental health right now, is just absolutely atrocious, and we need to make sure that we take that stigma off of that. If you need help, get it, please.
Yes. If this conversation resonated with you, to our listeners, you're not alone. There is help. There's wonderful men like this. And there's hope. Your story matters.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners for joining us on SOS Stories of Survivors. This is where survival sparks the soul. Until next time, thank you.
Thank you.